Those cheers you hear, like Stuart likes to play with the sound button all the time. It's just a question of the Friday, people. Friday before a holiday, Friday before the end of the year. It's almost like I can't believe we're less than 2 weeks away from starting 2026. And, I thought when you see 2026, we have advanced as a society, education, culture, knowledge, you name it. And yet it just seems to be that at the university level and at certain other parts of society, we're backwards to the point where we are blinded by ignorance, or for that matter, by some possessive nature. I have no idea why. We're smart people. We assume smart, knowledgeable people did their homework and realized that what we're seeing in the world today with radical Islam isn't attractive. But yet they make excuses. But yet they say this is what we want. But yet when you tell them where they're heading is down a very bad path, they throw at you, you're a racist. They make you feel bad that you're the problem. When in reality, look around the world. Wherever you have radical Islam, there are problems, growing exponential problems. But why doesn't that exist in places like UAE, Saudi Arabia? You want to know why? Welcome back to the Rant Network, everybody. I'm David Solomon. He is Stuart Brisgell. What we do here every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, noon Eastern is exactly this: a rant about stuff that people don't like to talk about in public circles. It's just all about culture, society, politics, and so much more, where we bring it out into the forefront. We share our opinions. We're not the media, and though we do our homework, we just share our opinions and how well we feel and our views on this. And we do love when you guys comment on our YouTube channels and all the social media. So sit back today, folks, on our Friday edition of the Rant Network. Stuart, I'm just very puzzled. I'm not. I'm being facetious about it because I do know what the real answer is. But I teach at McGill University, and I'm amazed by the depths of the professors, the school, the students, and how they've taken radicalism as a normal way of life. That it's okay. That it's okay to beat up women, that it's okay to throw gay people off a roof, that it's okay to call Black people slaves. I didn't think that these people were that naive, stupid, or for that matter, like suckers. Stuart, I know you got lots to say here, but it's interesting how this product is exported, but it isn't imported. Stuart, if you're ready.
Let me tell you, the only people who won't tolerate radical Islam are the ones who know it best. I think let's start there. Let me start with something you're not allowed to say aloud anymore. But everyone knows the truth. The West is importing an ideology that the Middle East is itself expelling. Think about that. The same elites who lecture Americans and Europeans about tolerance and diversity are importing radical Islamic ideology into every Western city. While Dubai, Saudi Arabia, and the Gulf states are aggressively suppressing it. And no, that's not a conspiracy. That's public policy. This is not about race. This isn't about immigration. This isn't even about the Islamic faith. This is about radical political Islamists, an ideology that rejects secular law, reject pluralism, reject women's equality, rejects free speech, and ultimately rejects the entire Western civilization itself, wanting to impose Sharia law. And there's irony. No one wants to confront it. And those that try are labeled racists, Islamophobists, and everything else the kitchen sink can do. The people who understand the threat best are the ones who lived under it. The truth is that you're not supposed to say it aloud, not even a cable news channel, not on campus, and certainly not the political elite. You've got to understand that Islam as a religion and Islam as a political ideology is not the same. Islam says God's laws override civil law. Religious authority outranks democratic authority. Apostasy is a crime. Blasphemy deserves punishment. Women's equality is negotiable. Free speech is conditional. That's the ideology. That's not hypothetical. It's been implemented repeatedly. When ISIS controlled the territory in Iraq and in Syria, we saw exactly what Islamist government looks like. They enslaved women, they persecuted and murdered religious minorities, journalists were hung and executed, and all ancient cultures were erased. And if you didn't know, this was going on in the modern era for the last 75 years in Israel, where they would dig under the rock and mulch up anything that had to identify a civilization before theirs. No one's debating that ISIS is evil, but ISIS didn't invent its worldview. It applied it without apology. Taliban, Afghanistan, girls banned from school, women erased from public life, dissent crushed. This is what happens when ideology wins and the West pretends that it's about tolerance, making everyone who brings up the subject seem dishonest. Europeans ran the experiment first with massive immigration, no assimilation requirements, endless tolerance, and zero enforcement. How is it now? There are areas in France that are no longer policed by the police. In England, there are areas that the bobbies no longer venture in because they coordinated Sharia law within the Western cities. Coordinated Islamic terrorists killed 130 people at cafes, concert halls, and stadiums in Paris in 2015. We know the authorities had radicalized Europe and exploited the asylum for travel. How about Brussels 2016? Terror cells operating in plain sight, the police afraid to enter neighborhoods. How about grooming gangs in United Kingdom? For years, the Crown refused to act. Organized sexual exploits of young girls became feared and were called racist. There wasn't any tolerance. The moral cowardness is what prevailed. You know, parallel societies and Sharia by stealth. Western governments insist Sharia law doesn't exist here. That's technically true and practically false. Sharia Council in the UK operates unofficially, settles family disputes, pressures women to stay in abusive marriages, and functions outside of civil court. But hey, wait a minute, it doesn't exist. The no-go zones, the de facto policy. Police are altering patrols, teachers are being censored, cartoons being pulled, and look, speakers being canceled. Not by law, but by fear. A society that enforces silence, intimidations are winning. David, Dubai, Saudi Arabia are contradiction. They are Muslim majority, over 85% foreign born. Global cities are safe and stable. Why? Because political Islam is not tolerated. Mosques are monitored, sermons are regulated, radical clerics are expelled. Islamist movement is banned. Same in Saudi Arabia, right? You cannot coexist this ideology in the modern era. They cannot coexist. The elite betrayal is what's ensuing. Media mocks you, politicals are now pushing open borders, and academics are dismissing the security risk. Yet they're being murdered in school campuses like Brown and MIT. Listen, you cannot have policy that doesn't make sense if you're passionate about it because it's policy malpractice, right? It is, David, not about free speech because free speech is the first casualty in this ideology. It becomes hate speech where the freedoms are already gone. Teachers are intimidated, journalists are threatened, and other religions are being persecuted. With Christians being murdered around the world, silence ensues in the UN. Jews being murdered every day, it's silence in the UN. Why is this? This is a civilian question. It's about civil law, values, and everyone's right to exist. Yet their right to exist is superior to everyone else's. History is clear. Societies that refuse to defend foundations cease to exist. Is that the irony, David?
Stuart, you brought up a lot of amazing points here, and I'll just want to touch on a few. Once upon a time, you heard the words "buck up." You heard from from a different generation, stop, 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 stop being, stop crying, stop whimpering, be a man, be solid. And what we've done is we've changed that. We've taught our children for well over a generation right now that your feelings matter. And that is what these radical Islamists have taken advantage of. They've taken advantage of a society that got soft. And it's interesting because it's cyclical. Hard times bring out hard people bring out soft times bring out soft people bring out hard times. And we're in that cycle right now. That the soft people right now are sitting here saying, "Oh, poor them, what's crazy is that when you know what goes on in political circles, and I know this in firsthand, Stuart, that if you want to help an immigrant society, regardless of who they are, one of the minorities, because they want to immigrate to your country, you trade their immigration for votes. And it's worked. It's worked. Look at any culture, any minority, Stuart. Anywhere you go, it works. You come here, you vote for me. But all of these folks that you mentioned before have all integrated themselves. You use the word assimilated. I'm using the word integrated into your society. Canadian, American, Western, doesn't make a difference. Except one group. This one group of radical Islamists have decided, oh, no. We're not going to integrate ourselves. We're going to take full advantage of your weakness. And that is because you've welcomed us in because you wanted to vote. Not a problem. The same people you stood with that you claimed are pro-Palestine, which they clearly are not, that you stood there, how many times did they tell you absolutely no to homosexuality? How many times did they tell you no to women's rights? You're not listening. You got caught. You got caught because your feelings, you're looking for more people to support your cause. Fatties for Palestine. You wanted more people for your cause. That works for you. Black Lives Matter. You want more people in your cause. That works for you. But what you've all failed to recognize, or you're ignoring, is that these are not your allies. These are your enemies. And these two enemies are working together in collaboration for parallel goals, but not the same. But they're parallel. And you guys are trying both the same thing. You're trying to both disrupt society, some in a positive way and some in a very negative way. And you've tethered your horse to the wrong crowd. Now, someone said, every time you talk about radical Islam, you're a racist. I love that. Again, label me. Please label me. I don't know why you think if I call out hate, I'm a racist. every time I say something to do with radical Islam, and I use the words radical because I have many friends who are Muslim, I work with many Muslims, I'm affiliated with many Muslims who are peace loving and have integrated themselves into Western society. They've accepted the rules, the laws of the country that they're in. I respect their religion. They can go to the mosque. They can pray. They could do all these things. But what they won't do is radicalize our society. And even they're saying, be aware of radical Islam. There are, in the last election, Stuart, and here in Canada, I met people who told me that they were threatened, physically threatened, that if they didn't vote for the Muslim candidate in my riding, something will happen to them. I spoke to several people like that. Is that what you want in your society? Now, I understand there's coercion in an election. Everywhere you go, there's coercion. But physical violence? This is what they're bringing to the table. They want to change things. Now, listen, I'm just trying to understand at what point are you tired of your nativity scenes being shut down? Christmas markets being closed because of the threats. And here's the thing. I want to understand, Stuart, before I know you want to suggest a solution, but here's the question I ask people. Are you ready to give up your society that you have today, that you could freely walk into a Starbucks and if you're a woman, and not need a companion with you? Because in a lot of these countries, you're not allowed to be alone if you're not a married woman. Would you like to be, beaten up, having to hide again because you're gay? Then keep doing this. Because this is where this is heading. And believe you me, you don't have to do a lot of homework to find this. This is clearly all over the social channels of what they do to people like you. So if you're ready for this, go move there. Don't stay here. We don't want it. Stuart, I'll wrap up with this. If the statistics are accurate, that there are approximately 15% of Islam is radical out of 1.8 million. That's about 250,000. That's almost the entire size of the United States. Do you understand what I just said? Imagine the entire population of the United States, radical Islamists spread all over the world. If this is what you think is good, holy crap, you're in for deep trouble.
All right, David.
What do you propose?
Listen, how do you fix the problem without abandoning freedom? The problem's not immigration. It's not Islam. And it's not diversity. The problem's allowing liberal political ideology to operate inside a liberal system without any boundaries. Every successful society that's dealt with this challenge, democratic or not, did so by enforcing the clear laws, equal law, non-negotiable civic standards. Draw a bright line between religion and political ideology. Enforce the single legal system in the country you're in, prohibiting unofficial religious courts from adjudicating civil matters. Cut foreign sources, cut the aid. Ban foreign funding for mosques and religious schools and NGOs. Require full financial transparency. Reform immigration without asylum, without cause. Close it. Demand assimilation clearly and fairly with social contact. Mandatory civic education. Laws, rights, freeze, language proficiency. An affirmation of constitutional supremacy. If you have one, we do. Defend free speech. Protect criticism of religious ideology without right? Target the radicals where it happens. Stop governing by accusation. AOC's classic rule. Support reformers. Don't apologize. The strongest allies against extremism are Muslims who reject the political Islamists that exist. And we've put them on our feed. You see them in the news. They're not the minority any longer. Restore moral and cultural confidence. Look, the bottom line is clear law, equal enforcement, no special exemptions, civic confidence, and moral clarity. That provides for no hate, no fear, no collective blame. Just lead, have courage, and follow the law.
You know where you can find that, by the way, what you just pretty much said?
What?
Go check out Poland. Check out the laws and the policies they put in Poland. They don't have this issue. And there's a reason. Because your points are already right now, that's in place. And there are other places where that's in place. But unfortunately, we in the West, we're soft. And we believe that everybody is, we have to treat everybody equally, but we're not being treated equally at all. Ladies and gentlemen, that is it. We are done for another edition of another week of the Rant Network. Stuart, put the crickets away. Thank you very much. We'll catch you guys on Monday. Wishing you a wonderful weekend. Look out for our top 10s coming up December 31st. Thank you for your support this year.